They are the only surviving army in the world, but all soldiers were called in urgently just now. Radar showed that a group of unknown creatures in the forest with strange, strong electromagnetic radiation were rapidly approaching the base at 40 kilometers per hour. Suddenly all the lights in the base went out under the influence of radiation. Fear of the unknown spread in the soldiers' hearts, and the anxious police dog barked furiously and ran toward the forest. The next second, everyone only heard the wail of pain. The commander, who sensed that something was wrong, just fired the flare when a number of black shadows flashed.
Fire!
The next day, when the surviving soldier opened his eyes, he was pinned down by a huge brown bear. His teammates rescued him just in time, and he was shocked to discover that the unknown enemy was actually a myriad of brown bears. No one knew why the bears had suddenly lost control and attacked the base, nor did they know that they were the only surviving army in the world today. A month ago, a flight to Paris suddenly lost power and went out of control. Then the next second, the whole world was plunged into darkness. The only remaining light was in Moscow, the capital of Russia. It was the only city in the world that survived. To understand all this, the military immediately sent troops to the surrounding cities to investigate. But the signs before us indicate that nearly 8 billion people plunged into the darkness instantly, all dead. But then, a soldier was suddenly attacked. When the rest of the team rushed to support them, they saw the attacker jump from a high building. What's even more bizarre is that when they attacked the attacker, even though numerous bullets hit him, but still escaped without any effect. Afterward, scientists studied the bodies brought back for almost a month. They were shocked to find the cause of death of human beings in the dark zone. It was the neurotoxin secreted by the body itself that killed them. The colonel's visit to the base was to organize the soldiers to continue their investigation in the surrounding dark areas. But the soldiers had not gone far before they saw a scene that shocked them even more. The city ahead seems to have gone through a century of war. Unknown weapons cut off skyscrapers. This scene also triggered a new wave of panic in Moscow. To force the government to investigate the truth as soon as possible, the demonstrators began to storm the guards. They expressed their fear and terror with violence and bloodshed. To quell the internal chaos, the top brass had to send more soldiers out to investigate. But they also had to use their top-secret superpowered fighters. Although these superpowered warriors can't fight 100 to 1, but their consciousness can be like a radio to receive mysterious signals from the outside world. The man in front of you is one of the best. One day, a man calling himself the messenger of God suddenly invaded his consciousness, and the messenger told him that everything that was happening today was God's will. His first wave of attacks destroyed all electronic devices. The second wave of attacks activated the self-destruction mechanism in all living things. And the last wave was to control the 160 million living people who survived in the dark zone and launch an indiscriminate attack on them, until all humans are wiped out to reoccupy the earth. Brown Bear attack on military base is start of third wave of attacks. And he found the man's purpose is another god behind him. Need to find the controller through his superpower. This will be able to stop everything that happens next. But the man is an atheist, so he does not hesitate to refuse. But soon after, another man in black approached him directly. He tells men that his name was Jesus and that he was the God behind the messenger. After saying that, he unlocked the mask on his head, obviously a non-human face. Just when the female colonel came up, the first time he saw him, the colonel was alert, pulled out his gun, and called the guards. But Jesus did not panic at all, only to see him close his eyes directly. The next moment the guard's gun was suddenly pointed at the colonel. Just as she was wondering, she was horrified to find that Jesus had transformed into her own form, and her took the form of Jesus. Then Jesus slowly approached the colonel and told her he meant no harm. His purpose for appearing was to help the remaining humans. And after arriving in the conference room, Jesus told the colonel he was a higher being from another planet in a distant galaxy. Their planet was about to die, so they chose Earth as their colony. However, because their planet was too far from Earth, so more than 200,000 years ago, he came to Earth as an advance party with a biological virus. The purpose was to transform the Earth to meet its colonization standards, and the so-called biological weapons are the human beings that have reproduced to this day.
तुम perfect आक्रमणकारी हो, perfect virus.
That's why for thousands of years, The people of Earth have called him a god. And there was another fellow called Satan who came to Earth with him. He released the deadly radiation that turned the world into what it is now. The moon blocked Moscow then, so it was the only surviving city. At this time, Jesus had already taken control of 160 million living people in the Dark Zone and started an attack to allow the arrival of their planet's colony ship tomorrow. Jesus does not want to see the destruction of all humanity. He prefers to live in peace with humans, so he must first take care of Satan. The prerequisite was to find Satan's location through his superpowers. He pressed his hand on the man's forehead, and instantly, his psychic powers were magnified. Soon he saw Satan at the top of a building, and as he drew the building's appearance quickly, at the same time, Satan also perceived the man's consciousness. Everyone immediately rushed toward the building, but the weird thing is that Jesus left him at the base before leaving. When the female colonel found that he was not there, ready to return to the base, they saw countless missiles in the sky toward the ground. The base was engulfed in an explosion before their eyes in an instant. It turns out that Jesus knew that man would take action after being discovered by Satan. To keep everyone from being wiped out, he had to sacrifice the entire base to buy time, so now they were the only humans left in the world. When the group arrived in the city where the building was located, the human puppets under Satan's control were already waiting for orders. After a short silence, they launched a suicide attack on the army. The commander had no choice but to order a return fire, and the armored vehicles accelerated without reservation with the powerful firepower. The entire city was instantly transformed into an inferno. Finally, they broke out from the countless puppet army. At the commander's command, the armored vehicles rushed directly into the building where Satan was. And after taking care of the puppets inside the building, the commander and the colonel ordered some of the soldiers to follow Jesus to the roof of the building, while they stayed downstairs with the remaining soldiers to defend. At first sight of Satan, the first soldier could not resist rushing up directly, but the next second was almost thrown off the roof of the building. At that moment, Jesus also finished building up his strength and directly tangled with Satan. The two aliens fought to a standstill. The soldier who managed to climb up looked down and found that his companions who had stayed behind had been wiped out. The explosion also attracted Satan's attention. Jesus takes this opportunity to punch him in the chest, removing his life core, and the soldier seized the chance to shove a phosphorus bomb into his chest. That was the end of him. After Satan's death, Jesus also unleashed his superpowers. After seeing all the living puppets fall, the crowd didn't have time to breathe a sigh of relief. Jesus finally revealed his true face. It turns out that all he had done was to get rid of Satan with the help of humans so that he could take over the earth alone and become the only God. The divine ambassador knew the truth and took the opportunity to pick up the dagger on the ground and thrust it at Jesus. But the next moment, the dagger stabbed into the colonel's body due to Jesus' supernatural interference. The enraged soldier fired directly at Jesus, but unharmed. He directly transformed everyone into the appearance of the soldier's father. While the soldier could not tell who was the real Jesus, the divine ambassador was keenly aware of his true form. Directly with him and fell down the building. Jesus, who was called God, fell to the ground and died. At that moment, a huge alien ship slowly appeared in the sky. The arrival of the colony ship made everyone completely desperate. Then the hatch of the ship opened, but unexpectedly they did not wait for the invaders to appear. The only 3 remaining people tried to enter the ship's interior, only to find that countless aliens were still in a dormant state. But the timer of the hibernation chamber was already on. If the countdown ended and the aliens were awakened, then everything would be over. The soldier decisively fired at the hibernation chamber, but in the face of millions of dormant pods, 3 people once again silent. At this moment, the female team member suddenly noticed the pipe underneath her. She tried to use the axe to split the line. She found out that this was the tube that kept them breathing. With the destruction of the pipe, the aliens around them all suffocated in just a few seconds. Seeing hope, the 3 immediately began to split up. With the cooperation of the 3, soon only the last pipe remained, but when she raised the axe, suddenly froze. The original dormant are children from the alien planet. At the moment of hesitation, the countdown of the dormant pods ended. All the hatches were opened in unison. Finally, Countless alien children appeared in front of the three. No one knows what their fate will be, and no one knows how the three remaining humans on Earth should choose. What do you think will be the final outcome?